Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. Who we have with us today is James Kandasamy, who's the CEO of Achieve Investment Group. Now, this company owns and manages several apartments, a few thousand apartments in Texas, with about $130 million in assets, and that's all been created from scratch, I believe. And James has been focused on commercial real estate and working on real estate for the last 6+ years. And we'll listen and find out about how he got started and how he grew his company. Prior to that, he was an electrical engineer. And he also has a book out, Passive Investing in Commercial Real Estate, which we'll find out from him directly all about. So welcome, James.
Hey, Rajiv. Happy to be on your show.
Thank you so much. I know you also have a real estate podcast that's been doing really well, and we'll get into that. But before we start, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, as you know, my name is James Kandasamy. Started, on a corporate W-2 job for 22 years and moved on to become a real estate investor. We moved to the US almost like 12 years ago. We're right now based out of Austin, Texas. We are basically apartment what we call as apartment deal sponsors or syndicators, where we raise money from private investors. And we go and buy these commercial buildings, and we create an investment structure where we give passive or hands-off returns to our investors. So our investors doesn't really get involved in any of the real estate work, but they invest, but they get the benefit of real estate investing without being involved in it. So it's called passively investing in commercial real estate.
So what kind of returns can they expect?
So in general, usually if you invest in Texas and if you invest with us, our usual structure is almost 15 to 20% cash on cash return per year. And it usually goes on a 5-year cadence. And on a yearly basis, you probably get like 6 to 9% return cash on cash for passive investors. And at the end, when we sell, we get the remaining part of the overall return. So we usually target like, as I said, 15 to, maybe 20% cash on cash return on the 5-year horizon per year, right? So you probably will be doing like almost 80 to 100% return for 5-year cadence when you invest in the deals that we usually do.
All right. So we'll come back to real estate investing, but let's go back and talk about your 22 years on W-2. So what did you do?
Yeah, it's all about this show, right? Plan B, right? So yeah, I started as an engineer. After college, started engineer in a big semiconductor company, electrical engineering, and I've been working hard. When you work, right? You want to get up in life.
Mm-hmm.
So working, and I'm always been a guy who likes to do new things. So even at my work, I like to go into departments which has a lot of problems because it is so fun to solve problems, right? But the problem is I realize a lot of company doesn't have a lot of problems, right? They do not want to have a lot of problems, especially companies which does products, right? They want to do one product and they want to tweak it a little bit only to make a different product, and they resell it, right? If they change too much, it's going to be a lot of manufacturing problem, design problem, right? So a lot of companies don't do that. So that has become a bit monotonous for me. It's a bit boring. Working on some small slight variation of products every year, and it is just too boring for me. So I said, okay, I'm here in the US and it's a land of opportunity. What can I do differently to make myself more, happy and, do more complicated problem solving. And I was looking at different things. I'm looking at stocks, looking at, doing some startups, technology startups. And I did all that. I did try to do some technology startup, and I realized I'm not that good at it. There's a lot of big guys who are really good at software, pouring in a lot of money. Right? I was trying to do some educational website startup. I tried to play the stocks. I thought I'm a smart guy. I'm an engineer. I can know how to solve this problem. The stocks is how difficult is it going to be, right? It goes up and down. But I realized I always lose money on stocks because stocks plays with your emotion, right? And nowadays with the iPhone app, any app, right, you can see stocks every second it moves.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it takes your emotion up and down every day. Like, especially for me, I'm not a guy who can put my money and wait 10 years and see again whether my stock went up or not, right? And I'm not a guy who likes other people to control my life, right? I don't want Elon Musk to smoke weed on his on one podcast, and my stock drops 20% just because he smoked weed. So nothing wrong about him smoking or what. I'm just, I have no control, right? So what's the point of doing that, right? So, and I realized I read one big article saying that 90% of stock investors, private individuals, never really make money. So then I realized this is actually a big boy game, right? The stock market, right? So I was looking at other investment types, and I came across rental houses, right? And I talked to my friend who does rental, and he gave me, how to buy rentals and get some returns, and I started doing that. Then I got really good at it, and now we're buying apartments. From single family houses, we're buying into apartments. So we have become really good, and I can control the whole operation, right? I can make one phone call to fire a bad employee. Right, I can control the income of that apartment. I can control the expense of income just for my direct phone calls. Right, so that's what I want. I want to take charge of my own investments rather than giving it to stock market, which I have no control.
So you mentioned you started off with rentals. So is that where you started personally investing in rental properties?
Yes. We started in 2013. We started buying rentals. So we almost bought like 13 houses. We created almost 400,000 of equity. And from there is when we moved to, apartments or multifamily.
So when you say we, was that a group or did you start alone?
Oh, it's me and my wife. It's just two of us. There's no group. So right now we own like almost 1,700 units, as a single GP, general partner, my wife and I, which is crazy, right? A lot of times, you have a big group doing this, right? Because it's multi-million dollar deals, right? But we started slowly and we work really hard, and we have investors who really see our hard work, and we do very well with our track record, and they have been keep on referring people to us, and that's how we have grown until this big.
So let's talk about this, right? So you and your wife decided to get into real estate investing. You picked on a few properties that you could manage on your own. So how did that transition happen to from you personally investing to getting others to put their money in together as a consortium, and then getting into multi-family or apartment investing?
So that's a really good question. So basically what we did is, of course, when we're buying houses, we were buying ourselves, right? You put 20% down payment and you can buy a house, rental house. But there's a lot of calculation on buying a rental house, right? I mean, a lot of people doesn't know rental house business in the science behind rental. People just buy another house like your own house, right? They say, oh, I buy a house in my own neighborhood and that's my rental. That's not how rental works. There's a lot of price fluctuation. You want to look for generational renters, not the renters like you, right? So that's what I realized. A lot of my friends who does rental, they just try to buy a house like what they have. So basically we started buying our house on our own, but we also tell other people on how well we are doing, right? So when we decided to go into a buying multifamily apartments, large apartment complex, we know there's syndication, right, where we can syndicate money from investors who are not really doing the work, but they can come in as a limited partner, right? And we become the general partner, right? So we put up that structure into an LLC, and we go and buy this large apartment complex. So whatever profit we get from this apartment complex, we split between, maybe like 70% goes to them or 80% goes to them. We split among us, and everybody makes money, right? So, and there's a lot of passive investors out there who are busy working, right? A lot of doctors, engineers, lawyers, business owners, a lot of people, even real estate investors invest with us because they get a lot of tax benefit. And people just love investing passively because they get the benefit of investing in real estate without the hard work of buying rentals.
So where did you find your first investor?
Oh, that's a really good question. My first investors is when I started doing this single family home. When I start talking to people, right? When we usually tell, we brag about it, right? Because we are doing a really good job. So we tell others. this is what we did, this is how we're doing it, and we are looking at apartments, and people will jump on it. People said, hey, James, better let me know if there's any opportunity for me to invest, right? Because people, as I said, people love investing in this way without them doing the work. And that's how I find my first investor, by just basically networking. There's a lot of real estate meetup group. There's a lot of Facebook group. I have one large Facebook group, almost 5,000 members. When you come there, you can find people like me who are doing it. And, they just network, right? Just networking, finding opportunities. There's nothing really, no obligation here, right? It's just about networking and telling people the opportunity, and, people jump on it.
So you said you started this about 6 years ago. So you missed that whole 2008 debacle.
Yeah, I missed it. I feel very sad, and that's why, because now I'm happy because I'm in during COVID time, and now I can put in my resume I went through a recession.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy that I'm not happy that COVID happens, but I'm happy that our properties are still doing very well right now during COVID, and our collections are really still doing very well. There's no real major impact that we are seeing in our apartment business because people need houses to stay. Everybody need shelter in place. That's why the buzzword, right? Shelter in place, and you have to pay for the shelter. Otherwise, you don't have shelter to stay. So it's part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody needs a house, and we are still doing very well right now.
So did you have any issues with some of your renters not being able to make rent or something like that during this time, or not yet?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, we do have issues. We have renters who have lost their job, who have lost their part-time job and all that. But there's a lot of help being given, right? There's a lot of help being given by the government. There's a lot of help given by the city. And, somehow, we do have, slightly higher delinquency compared to what we used to have before COVID. But, our break-even occupancy is like 70%, right? That means 70% of collection is what we need to run the operation profitably, and we are collecting like almost 90%, right? So we are doing well in terms of our break-even occupancy to make sure that our expenses are covered, and we are still able to cash flow.
So for your investors, the ones that are investing, how do you work with them? Are they investing in a specific property, and how the property performs has an impact on their returns, or are you giving them fixed returns?
So we usually do deal by deal. So we buy one deal and we raise money for that deal, and then the next deal we raise money for the second deal, right? So yeah, everybody invests by deal, right? And whatever profit that we get from the deal is what we split, right? So if the profit drop, we split a lower number. If the profit goes up, then we go up higher. There are structures that we can set up where we can say like a fixed return, a preferred return, right? So maybe 7 or 8%, and then on top of it, we do a split, right? So sometimes people do, there's a lot of fees involved, right? So I explained this very well in my book, Passive Investing in Commercial Real Estate, on how does this whole thing work. But in general, yeah, it all depends on the cash flow from the real estate itself.
So, one question I want to ask is about property prices that, like you mentioned, right? So when you look at property prices, and, and I'll give you some examples that I was looking at myself, right? So when you look at property prices, what you see is, let's say there's a property out there, and I'm going to throw some numbers here. Let's say, 150,000. Okay. In some neighborhood, there's a property that's giving rental income of roughly 1,500 a month or so. Now, when you look at properties in the area, generally, they would probably be somewhere in the 75,000 range or so. And now, when you look at the taxable assessment value, it would also be somewhere on par, between 60,000 to 80,000 kind of a thing. But, whoever's selling it is selling it on the cap rate. They're saying, okay, this is fully occupied. There's a cap rate of X, 10% or so. So that's why this property is this price. That's how most of the pricing happens on the seller's end. Now, for a buyer to buy it at that price, they would have to buy it, they would have to maintain it, they would have to continue with the rental income, and there's no guarantee that when they sell, it will go for a similar price. Is this generally how the market works, or am I missing something?
No, that's absolutely how the market works for the normal people. right? So when someone come into the market, and that's exactly what they see, they say, how come everything's overpriced?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That this is not how it's supposed to be valued, right? So, but we have a lot of personal relationship with brokers to find a better deal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Than what the general public can get, right? At the same time, we are vertically integrated. That means we have asset management, we have property management, we have construction management, all within our own umbrella. So we have a lot of leverage in terms of maximizing income and reducing expense, right? Compared to a normal people, like what you said, right? If you go and ask a broker right now, he's going to tell you, the retail price, right? But we buy wholesale. So when we buy wholesale and when we have vertically integrated functions, we make a difference in terms of what we buy and how much we can make money from a real estate investment.
And how can you get the best deals using off-market strategies?
So off-market strategies, you can go direct to the sellers and you start marketing to them. And a few things you can do cold calling, you can do a cold texting, you can do email blasting or mail blasting, letter marketing as well to them, and you start looking for someone who's willing to sell to you, right? So that's the best option, but it's also the hardest and a lot of work option, right? The second best option is work with brokers, and brokers know that you are a true player in the market. You have a good track record and they trust you, and they're able to give you some really good off-market deals, right? So deals that normal public doesn't see. So these are the two big options that we usually jump on to get the better deals from the market.
And how long do you generally keep a property before you sell it?
Usually we tell our investors like 5 years, 3 to 5 years, but we have sold property, much earlier than that. We have sold like one property within 4 years. We almost made like 330% in 4 years, because the market was good. The property was doing very well. The equity is so much, it has built up so much of equity. We said, okay, let's sell it. Right. So, and at the same time, sometimes we have never done this because, a lot of our properties, we have not reached, we're almost coming into 5 years. Sometimes we reach 5 years and we say, hey, this is a really good cash cow. Why you want to kill the golden goose? Or the golden cow, I guess, right? Right. So we said, hey, let's just keep on having it, leaving it, right? And we usually give voting rights to our investors to vote whether we want to keep or we want to sell. That kind of major decision is made by the investor group.
And then you generally buy rehabs as well?
We buy something what we call as value add, where we are able to go and increase the income, reduce expense. So basically what you're saying is, we call it value add, as what you're saying is rehab properties. But most of the properties that we buy, doesn't look bad. It looks really nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you have to go and, of course, you have to go and do the upgrades in the interior, exterior to push up the income.
So are you focused only on Texas or are you in national markets?
No, right now we are just doing Texas because, Texas is a really good market, especially now Austin and San Antonio right now, right? These are the two markets that we focus on. These are some of the best markets in the nation, especially like Austin is number 1 or 2 in the STEM cities, right? San Antonio is top 20 as well in the STEM cities. So you're already in a good market. Why? There's no real reason to go anywhere else, right? So we get a lot of investors from, everywhere in the nation to invest with us in Texas.
And then when you talked about, value add and vertically integrated business model that you have, can you talk a little bit more about the vertical integration part?
So vertical integration, basically we have, especially in commercial real estate, right? Especially like apartment, right? And a lot of times people, have money and they raise the money from investors or they buy it themselves. But a lot of times, it's very hard to get the skill of property management. Right. Property management is usually people give it to third party. There's so many third party property management companies who are professionals. However, the deals that we do is much more difficult deals, a lot more value add, and we need that control directly into the expenses, right? Because it's not their baby, right? When you give it to third party, it's not their baby, and you'll be like sitting here and thinking, what are these guys doing, right? So you feel like very frustrated because you have investors with you who are hoping on you to make a difference. And if you don't have control on the property management, which is basically managing this multi-million-dollar assets, right? You feel very frustrated and you feel like it's very, very inefficient, which is true. They are inefficient, and sometimes you have to give inefficiency versus how much you want to delegate, right? But we have chosen to integrate property management into our company investment structure because we want that control. We want to give the best for our investors to maximize income, reduce expense to the lowest level as possible. I can basically make a call and fire someone within 1 hour, right? Because I have my investors not making money and I'm not making money, and some property manager not doing their job, right? I can do that, but you can't do that in a third party property management. So that's how we integrated the property management, which is the most important crucial step in a vertically integrated. And the other thing we do is like construction management, right? If you give it to a GC, right? Because you do not know construction, but we have learned the art of construction. If you give it to the GC, then you have to pay them 10 to 20% additional from what you can get if you work directly with a subcontractor. So we are the GC in all our properties, and subcontractor work direct with us. We manage the money, and we think that construction management and property management integration into the investment is very critical in making sure that you get the fully optimized return for your passive investor.
So all your apartment complexes, you are the property manager too.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we have like 40 staff working for us. My wife, she runs the property management construction, which is the harder part of the whole business. And I do the investor relationship, underwriting, acquisition is what I do, right? So, but we have like 40 staff, 36 of them are working in the property management companies.
Okay, so they're all full-time? 36?
Yeah, everybody's full-time. Yeah, we have like 3 or 4 corporate people that work direct with us.
Awesome. So looks like you've built quite a formidable company there in the last 6 years that you've been working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of hard work, but it's doable.
Have you ever thought, I'm sure you're working full-time on what you're doing and you're growing and all that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the thought that why didn't I start before?
Well, it's always the hindsight 2020, right? Why not I start 20 years ago, right? So we always think about it, but I think everything happened for a reason at a certain part of your life cycle. I mean, when I working W2, and I probably some of your audience are working W2 too. I mean, I got a lot of training in project management. Mm-hmm. Right? How do you organize and people management as well, and all that is transferable skill when you come to business, right? I mean, managing an apartment complex on income expense. I mean, I know income and expense sounds very simple, but there's so many components to it, right? It's a lot of people business, right? So how do you manage this whole business? It's something that I learned through my corporate life when we are managing projects, when we are managing people. All that is a transferable skill to business, and I'm happy that I learned all that through my corporate job.
Awesome. So where do you go next? So what are your goals for your company and taking it to the next level?
So we are basically looking to grow grow more. Even during COVID, we are looking at deals right now, because it's very hard to find yield right now, right? There's, CD is paying 0.02%, right? So there's no other investment giving returns. I mean, stock market is going up, but it's also very volatile, right? And a lot of people don't want to deal with that volatility, and sometimes they got no choice, they go to stock. So, real estate investment gives you cash flow and gives you a tax benefit as well. There's a lot of tax benefit which is not offered in stocks or bond, right? So only real estate does that. And people love real estate because you can see a hard asset, right? If people you drive by with your family and say, hey, I have a small percentage in that deal, and it feels good, right? You can tell your kids. Right. So we are trying to buy more as we go from here, but we're also trying to scale our business gracefully, because we are also very busy, right? So growing a company is not easy, right? It's not easy to say that, hey, just hire people and you're done, right? You have to hire the right people, and you have to give them the right expectation. You have to give them the right goal. You have to give them the right guidance. You have to make sure that they buy into your vision, right? So right now we are trying to grow our company gracefully and at the same time grow our investment and be more efficient as we go along, right? And we're also starting a foundation to help orphanages in third world countries. So that's where ultimately our goal is, to increase our investment so that we can help more people.
That's pretty awesome. So from a market rate standpoint, where do you see the average rate for investment properties in terms of interest rates?
Our interest rate is going to be as low as this, or maybe going lower for next 2 to 3 years.
So what is
Right.
it right now for investment properties?
So right now, okay, so investment property is very generic, right? So, but what we buy something called we buy like 20 million, $30 million loans, right?
Right.
So you'll be surprised to know that at that range, the interest rate is much lower than buying a house, right? So right now we're buying deal at 2.8% or 3% interest rate,
Oh, that's pretty
right?
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So who doesn't want that cheap of a money, right? So, but I think even for houses it's like 3% right now, but we can get much lower because we are buying much larger and we get interest only payment for a few years. So there's a lot more flexibility from government agency to get loans for apartment buildings, right? But there's a high barrier to entry. Not everyone can get that loan, right? People like us who have experience, who have the net worth and the liquidity and the operational experience have easy access, right? Yeah, we buy that kind of deal, and I think the interest rate, if you look at the last like 911 and whatever, every time the Fed brings down the interest rate, it's very hard for them to bring it up very quickly again. So usually when they bring down this low, it's going to stay low for another 2 to 3 years. That's what the data shows.
So as a part of your vertical integration, are you looking at the whole mortgage side of it as becoming a part of it too at any point, or do you work?
No, not really. I mean, we don't do a lot of mortgage, right? I mean, we do mortgage, we leave it to the experts. So that's a small part. That's a small part of the whole operation. We only do mortgage in the beginning or when we acquire, and after that, nothing changes in the mortgage. So there's
Yep.
really not much of benefit of doing the mortgage side of it.
So what's your plan in terms of a hedge against what could possibly happen with a recession? Like, we've seen what happened in 2008. We are seeing what's happening in New York in terms of the highest number of apartments ever available out there for rent. What we are seeing in rest of the parts of the country in terms of rents dropping by percentage points. And I don't know what's going to happen with prices of homes or apartments, how they're going to do if this continues longer. So do you have a plan in terms of a hedge?
So yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now the good thing is in Texas and the markets that we are involved, we are not seeing any impact at all. I know where you are right now, there's a lot of scare, right? Because I think New York has been hit hard, and I mean, in general people leave the state, right? But in Texas, places like Austin, there's like 300 people moving per day, right? There's a lot of people. Tesla just announced coming here, right? Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss, everybody's moving from California to Austin, right? So it's a lot of in-migration happening here to Texas. So we're not seeing much impact. Having said that, there are people, who are not able to pay, and our delinquency is higher. The collections are slightly lower. And the way we are trying to mitigate that is just by having reserves, right? So we have set a strict criteria for payments for our investors. So if you meet this stress test, then we do our payout to our investors. Otherwise, we said we are going to keep all the money, as a cash reserve to make sure that nothing happened in the next 6 months, right? So we have we have reduced a lot of our capital expenses. Our projects, we have reduced a lot just to reserve cash. So our hedge is just making sure that we have more reserve to make sure we are able to meet the debt service, whatever debt we take, we are able to meet that. At the same time, just strong property management, making sure we are able to collect rents from people who are able to pay, and making sure that all our staff understand, right, that they have to make sure that they're able to make sure consistently collect rents from our residents for whoever can pay.
And do you have an exit strategy at some point? Anything that you've thought of?
Not yet, not yet. So, so right now we are operators. We are basically, people on the ground running the show. But we also have our own educational program where we teach people how to do like what we are doing, at the same time for passive investors, right? How to be, educated passive investors. Well, so we're doing some education, coaching and mentoring as well. But in general, there's no real exit strategy from the properties we have right now. Because we are really enjoying it. It is making us good money, making our investors good money as well. And we are becoming good at it, right? Why you want to exit right now? So no exit strategy that being well defined right now, apart from we are trying out, some educational coaching, mentoring, programs, so that people get to learn more about, how to get involved in this kind of business, because everyone can get involved.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
So what about your operating model? How much of it is virtual? How much of it is in an office kind of a deal?
I mean, for me, my wife and I, we only travel to our properties once a week. So other than that, we are at home and doing all our meetings and all that. So maybe like 90% virtual right now. But all our staff are very hands-on, right? And when we go to the projects, we are really hands-on. So that's where the hands-on part comes in. But we are, as I said, we are not like an IT job where you can do everything on the software, right? So this is real people work, but we do a lot of analysis and making sure we are meeting our business plan, um, using computers. But we do have a people working for us, and there's a lot of personal touch that's involved as well.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
My podcast is called Achieve Wealth Through Value Add Real Estate Investing. The value add real estate is basically another name for commercial real estate, right? Because that's the fundamental of commercial real estate. We interview a lot of commercial operators, right? Like people like me, and I like to learn from other people, how are they doing it? Because in business, I think there's many ways to do one thing, right? It's very hard to find from books on how to operate an apartment, right? Other than we learn from other people. So I like to bring in people like me and try to learn from them. At the same time, they learn from me. So it's a bit very technical because we go into very deep details, right? So that's our podcast. We bring in commercial real estate operators who are doing deals right now, and we interview them on techniques, tips, and tricks.
And how long have you been doing it?
It's almost a year. We have we have almost 20, maybe 25,000 downloads right now. It's it's rated top 24 real estate podcasts for 2019.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I go very deep.
So tell us about your book.
My book is called Passive Investing in Commercial Real Estate, Insider Secrets to Financial Independence. It's basically a book for people who want to invest in deals like us, in a deal like what we do, right? And I wrote a book because there's so many books for stock investing, right? But there's zero books for, how to invest in a syndication or in commercial real estate. So that's why I wrote that book. And it was recently mentioned as top 15 book, real estate book by Jim Cramer's The Street. Right, which is crazy, right? And I'm a guy who came from Malaysia, and English is my third language, and I'm getting so much high accolades from big names for the book. But I did spend like 1.5 years writing the book to make sure it's very easy to read, it's very simple, it's a very easy read. When you read it, it's like someone reading it to you. So I wrote it for anyone out there who wanna be a hands-off real estate investor and wanna be involved in commercial real estate, right? I mean, as I said, not many people know that this part of the investment exists, and I just want to spread the word for people. So it is in Amazon right now. You can go and look for Passive Investing in Commercial Real Estate. There's Audible, there's physical book, and there's also a Kindle version in Amazon. But for your audience, I just recently launched a free book campaign. So this book is being given out as free. If you go to passiveinvestinginrealestate.com, passiveinvestinginrealestate.com, you can get the book for free. I mean, that's a very small processing fee of $3 something, but you'll get the a book for free. And I would encourage the audience just to go and read it, right? At least know what are the options are, and sometimes some free books can change your entire life.
Absolutely. And for people who are willing to get in touch with you, connect with you, and learn more, or probably even invest, where do they find you?
They can find me in my website is called Achieve Investment Group. Achieve is like achieving a goal, ACHIEVE, achieveinvestmentgroup.com. My email is james@achieveinvestmentgroup.com. And if anybody want to know how to invest with us, just come to our website, achieveinvestmentgroup.com, and there's a link called Invest with Us. I mean, fill up that form, and you'll get a calendar link to my calendar, and we'll have a 15-20 minutes chat to get to know each other and how it works and all that. But absolutely read my book. It's a simple read. It's a best-selling book. There's no reason not to read it. If you do not want to read it, listen to it in audiobook. I make sure, because I'm an audiobook guy, listen to it on your car. As I said, some books can change your life, and you have to take that action.
And you mentioned philanthropy. I understand you're sponsoring education for about 300 orphan students. So tell us a little bit about that. Where are you doing that?
So we are doing it through an organization in the US, but these kids are basically in Africa, in India, and Mexico. We have like 330 kids, which we are sponsoring on a monthly basis. And we were looking for very specific. We want to sponsor education, so we were looking for there's a lot of organization giving for food, for third world country, but we want to give them education, right? And there was one one organization which is just they split up food and education separately, and that's what we were looking for. So we are giving them, we are actually sponsoring through that, and a portion of our business profit goes to that, and that's all from our own pocket. This is nothing to do with our investments. And but actually, as I said, we are setting up a 501c foundation, which is basically a proper, a much more sophisticated philanthropy organization, because we want to grow more than 300 to probably 1 million kids.
That's pretty awesome. So James, this has been very educative, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for the listeners in terms of commercial real estate. I know we delved a lot into your transition from someone who's been doing a job into someone who's actually running a company now. And a lot of people like to talk about the success aspect of it. I'd like to talk about the transition aspect of it, so a lot of people can glean from it. So hopefully, the listeners have got their questions answered through the interaction we had. Before I let you go, one takeaway that you'd like to leave with the listeners.
Well, the takeaway is as your show name, right? Plan B, right? So a lot of my investors use this investment in commercial real estate as a plan B. While they have this plan A as their W-2 job, they create this plan B, which is basically a stream of income. Because imagine you're getting 8-10% from every investment you're putting in, and that accumulates throughout the year and throughout the lifetime of its investment. And that can basically replace or basically become a plan B of your plan A, right? I mean, look at what happened to COVID. A lot of people lost their job. Even doctors lost their job, right? Everybody thought doctors are going to be recession-proof occupation. Mm-hmm. And they have been, but COVID has proved it wrong, right? So, and, plan B could be this passive investment in commercial real estate. Stocks doesn't give you cash flow, right? And stock is not a brick and mortar, right? If something happened like what happened during Black Monday or Black Friday, right? Your money just wipes out, right? But houses or apartments doesn't go away. It's always there. So your money doesn't get lost, but you're always able to get cash flow from it. Or if you don't get cash flow, but your capital doesn't, it's very hard to get lost in that kind of investment. So this could be your plan B, for many people. And a lot of my investors have retired by doing this. Even though they had a full-time W-2 job, they just see so much of money coming from their passive investment, and they're able to focus on other things once they get all this investment money coming in.
Well, James, thank you so much for joining today and sharing your journey and your knowledge with us. Wish you the very best with what you're doing, and we hope to be in touch again.
Thank you very much, Rajiv. Super happy to be here and add value to your audience.
Thank you. I hope you liked that episode and are enjoying all the episodes in Plan B Success Podcast. I'd encourage you to go subscribe on your favorite platform, whether it's any listening platform or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that you enjoy this content and extract from it what serves you best, what benefits you in your own life, personal, professional, business, whatever it might be. PlanB.live is the website where you can go in order to find any episode that you would like to listen to. 3 times a week, we release episodes, the first being an inspiring interview with someone who's done it, been there, done that, and can inspire you to go after what you want to achieve. Every Monday, that's the episode that gets released. And then, on Wednesdays and Fridays, we pick a topic and we talk about it in order to benefit you in your personal and professional life. At the same time, if you're someone who's interested in learning more about these concepts, if you're someone who's interested in podcasting as well, go check out planbsuccessschool.thinkific.com. That's where all the online courses are. You can learn and benefit from them there as well. There's a bunch of free courses, There's a bunch of paid courses. Start with the free ones. Get to learn what you aspire to learn. And if you want to delve deeper, then you can sign up for the other ones. Thank you very much.